Let me introduce myself. My name is Rijesh Barkovich, and for this video reading response, I decided to do something out of this world. I will be presenting female astronauts throughout the 20th century. As long as I can remember, I have always been an enthusiast and a true pursuer of aviation, space travel, and everything in between. It is a part of my life for so long, and my most tremendous dream is to have humankind proper into new territories of space and help them get where they want to go and where they need to be. For a long time, I was aware that there has been gender discrimination within these aviation and space agencies, and over the years I have done many researches to get to know these ongoing issues and in the future use these gathered resources which now I can present. It all started with the Mercury 13 project, which refers to the 13 American women who was part of a privately funded program and underwent some of the same psychological screening tests as the astronauts selected by NASA on April 9, 1959 for Project Mercury. Independent researcher William Randolph Lovelace II helped developing the tests for NASA's male astronauts and became curious to know how women would do taking the same tests. In 1960, 13 women were selected to undergo the same exhaustion challenges as the men had to complete to be eligible to go to space. Unfortunately, days before the training would have begun, these featured female astronauts received a telegram abruptly canceling their testing. They went to Washington, D.C. to try to have the testing program resumed, but NASA representatives and male astronauts testified that under NASA's selection criteria, women could not qualify as astronaut candidates because it could hurt the space program. Astronaut John Glenn said, "The fact that women are not in this field is a fact of our social order." He correctly stated that NASA required all astronauts to be graduates of military jet test piloting programs and have engineering degrees. But the problem was, women were banned from the Air Force training schools, so they couldn't become test pilots. This resembles the materials that I read in the online book for our class called Why So Few Women in STEM by Christy Corbett. Sadly, a few of the Mercury astronauts did not earn a required college degree, which shows how NASA discriminated women to be astronauts. During the Apollo era, Neil Armstrong would not have been able to take that infamous step without Margaret Hamilton, the lead software engineer for Project Apollo. Back in the 1960s, jobs like computer programming were considered women's work, as we learned from Chapter 3, Software Crisis and Identity Crisis from Abed Reading. Because programming was looked upon as being like typing data entry, women were hired for the jobs. As director of the software engineering division at MIT, Hamilton led the development of the onboard flight software for the Apollo space program. She was only 31 when Apollo landed on the moon and was only able to land because she designed a software strong and capable enough to handle space's extraordinary variables. In June 16, 1963, Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space. She is not only the very first female astronaut, but she spends more time in space than all of the astronauts of NASA's Mercury program combined. In June 18, 1983, Sally Ride becomes America's first woman astronaut, serving as a mission specialist on the Shuttle 7th mission. Even after these accomplishments, women were still a victim of discrimination since it was rooted in science. In August 2013, Chief of NASA Astronaut Corps Peggy Whitson stated that, depending on when you fly a space mission, a female will fly only 45 to 50% of the mission that a male can fly. The reason of this percentile difference is because of radiation. Scientific studies have shown that women are more likely to contract cancer at a lower radiation limit than men, and NASA does not allow astronauts to absorb more radiation than the amount that increases their lifetime risk of cancer by more than 3%. But taking the radiation issue aside, there have been a few recent discriminations against innocent female astronauts. In 2008, on board of the Russian Soyuz TMA-11 spacecraft were two female astronauts, Peggy Whitson and So Yeon Lee, and one male astronaut, Sheikh Musaffar. This was the very first time two women flew together on board a Soyuz, and it was the first time women outnumbered men aboard a spacecraft. During the re-entry of the Soyuz, it experienced an issue which caused it to ballistically re-enter through the atmosphere, which was an extremely dangerous, but it landed safely. After the incident, Roscosmos chief Anatoly Perminov blamed the ballistic re-entry and crash of Soyuz TMA-11, which was controlled by the woman on board. Perminov stated that, "Of course, in the future we will work somehow to ensure the number of women will not surpass the number of men. which was an extremely sexist statement, and later reports showed that it had nothing to do with the woman but it was a faulty pyrotechnic device. As of today, 59 women and 483 men were in space. While 24 men have journeyed to the moon, no woman has traveled beyond low Earth orbit. Finally, during recent times, NASA has realized the issue, and in June 2013, NASA announced that 18 new astronauts will be joining the US space program. Of the 8 new recruits, 4 are women, marking the first time NASA has selected an equal number of men and women for an incoming astronaut class. And since 2005, there has been at least one woman astronaut who went around the low Earth orbit, either on a Soyuz, Space Shuttle, or on board the International Space Station. Also, private space companies such as SpaceX and Virgin Galactic are focusing on being more diverse in both gender, race, and age-wise, supporting various jobs for those who qualify. Dwayne Shotwell, President and Chief Operating Officer of SpaceX, once said that we must get kids, both girls and boys, from a young age to be interested in science, engineering, and math. We must show them that everything is possible and our world is slowly changing, where everyone will have equal rights and opportunities. We must let go of these discriminations once and for all and soar beyond our lower orbit and explore Mars as a united civilization.